we are not just making dinner. I mean, we are making dinner, okay? This is the kind of dinner that you make when maybe you're celebrating something, you're having a gathering. This is that kind of dinner. Now, we are actually not celebrating anything. This is just what I wanted to make and what I wanted to have. All right, we're starting off with short ribs, and I'm actually gonna preheat my oven to 300. I've got my Dutch oven over here. It is well loved. I did try and clean it up a little bit just because it was gonna be on camera, but let's be real. If your Dutch oven doesn't look well loved, are you even in the kitchen? Now, let me get 2 plates out. I'm gonna put a little bit of flour into one of these. You just need about a 1/3 cup or so. More than a 1/3 cup, but it'll be okay. And actually, while we're prepping this, I'm gonna go over and just put a little bit of oil in that Dutch oven and turn our heat on so that it can get nice and hot. I do feel like because it is a ceramic coated cast iron, it takes a little bit longer to heat, but I want that nice even heat. So let me just give it a minute to work. Just a bit here. And let's get that heat onto about a medium. We'll let it kind of get going. This is 1.79 pounds Angus beef short ribs. Now, one thing that I will suggest for this, if you would also like to make this, short ribs can be a little expensive, right? They're not your cheapest cut of meat. However, I would encourage you to watch your sales at your grocery store because I know ours does go on sale occasionally. And if it is, it might be something that you wanna pick up even if you throw it in your freezer for later, because it's not something that goes on sale a lot, but if you find it, it's nice to have it. So yeah, just check for sales for this one. Okay, we're just gonna set these out here. Like so. Okay, now for me, I'm gonna use one hand to kind of turn the meat and the other hand to add salt. You can add salt and pepper if you want. The only pepper that we have right now is white pepper. And again, I could add it, but I'm thinking we're gonna be fine. I am gonna make sure that I get salt on all sides, and it might look like a lot, but you wanna make sure that you give your ribs a liberal salting, okay? Kind of press in just a bit and then turn it over, making sure we get all sides. Now, mine did not have any moisture on it at all, but if yours feels like it does, you might want to pat it dry before moving along with this process. Ooh, I didn't get the tops. Let me make sure I do that. I can hear that oil going. Also, my husband and I have been working on what we think is a fun project, and I hope you guys are gonna like it too. If you have any guesses as to what we might be up to, you can leave those in the comments. A few of you have helped us out a little bit in community post with some questions that I had. But yeah, let me know below if you have any guesses as to what we could be up to. And you know what? I'm actually gonna turn that oil down. Okay, I'm going to a medium low because it's popping a little too much for my liking. So we've got the flour here in this container, and I want to kind of dredge each piece in some flour. Just getting a little bit here. It's just gonna add a nice crust. It doesn't have to be a huge amount. Okay, you can still see the beef here, but just enough that once we put this into the oil, it's going to form a little bit of a crust, which is so good. Kind of tapping or patting that in the flour. This was definitely more flour than I needed, but you know, that's just how we do sometimes. It's a windy day, but it's so beautiful, so we have the windows open. So if you see things flying around, that's the reason. Now, this is not a meal that you make when you get home from work at 5 o'clock, unless of course you like to eat at 8 or 9 p.m., then maybe you can. But this is kind of like if you go to work, then this might be a weekend meal. If you stay home, then I'll let you know. I am starting this. It's currently 1 o'clock-ish. I'm starting it now, but I could honestly probably start it at around 2 or 3 and we'd still be okay. Okay, so the oil over there, you wanna make sure it's hot enough that it's going to immediately start to add a nice crust layer to the short ribs, but you don't want it to be too hot that you can't leave them in there to get that crust, right? You don't want to burn them. So we're at a medium low right now. We'll kind of see if I need to adjust that at all. The oven is already at 300, which is perfect. All right, let's take these over there. So we're gonna put these in, and we really want to cook on all sides. So I'll start here and then just continue to go. I might need to cook this in batches actually. We'll leave that in for a second, but I don't know once we lay them flat if it's all gonna fit in here. Okay, so just give it a couple of minutes on each side to really create that nice color. I did go ahead and turn it back up just a bit. We're at a little higher than medium, not all the way to a medium high, but in between that. What would that be? Okay, we're not quite there on the color, so we definitely want to leave that until we get some and then turn it over. So each side is gonna take a couple of minutes. So this is where the babysitting comes in a little bit, but like me right now, I'm actually gonna go make myself my afternoon latte while that side works, and then we'll come back, turn it, and you can just kind of do other things as that works through. Another thing you may want to start doing during this time is getting your vegetables cut and ready. In this Dutch oven, as we're cooking the short ribs, you're gonna have onion, you're gonna have carrot, I believe celery, you'll have rosemary, thyme, several different things in there. So we can go ahead and cut them so they're ready to go. So let's start with the onion. I just turned it again, wave the knife around. I just turned it again so that it would cook another side while I work on this. So I'm just gonna cut this up into fairly decently large pieces. Peel off that outer layer. You guys know that's how I always do. Put that to the side. Okay, they don't have to be cut really small, so. I knew I was gonna be making this tonight, which means I knew I was gonna be cutting vegetables. And y'all know I like my one knife, and this is not the one. And I just started the dishwasher like 15 minutes ago. I didn't think that one through. All right, let's toss all this and give these a turn again. Man, these look so good. Carrots and celery. I don't know, I'm actually not gonna peel my carrots. You can 100% do that. They're washed. I've had them in the fridge, just kind of ready to go. So I'm just gonna cut them up a little bit. My husband and I went to dinner last night to a place in Charlotte. It's called Lincoln Street Kitchen, and it is a completely seed oil-free restaurant here in Charlotte. And we've been wanting to try it for a little while, y'all. It was some of the best food I've had in a while. I had the sea bass, and it was incredible. And then I also had this, it was a burrata and beet and avocado side salad with like this lemon something dressing. Unreal. 100% I will be trying to copy that here because it was amazing. You see that wind? It's windy in here. It was so good. I cannot wait to try and figure out how to make it. All right, so for the vegetables, honestly, you can kind of do however much you want to do. I'm gonna go with 2 stalks of celery. You saw I did 2 carrots and 1 onion, mainly because I'm pretty sure that's what's gonna fit in that Dutch oven. So I don't want to overload it. You could probably add potatoes if that's something you wanted, but there's a start right here. Wow. All right, so we're gonna take these out and just set them here on a plate for just a minute. Add in all of those vegetables. try not to hurt myself. Woo, okay. Just cleaned my stove too. All right, now here's what I like to do at this point. There's quite a bit of oil at the bottom, and you can actually get it out before you put the vegetables in, but I like to coat them to make sure that they're gonna get a nice sear or cook. So now I'm gonna get some of that oil out, just so there's not a lot sitting there at the bottom while this cooks in the oven. Obviously the short ribs have fat in them, so some of that comes from the short ribs and some comes from the oil that we use to saute. Oh, let me just toss that over, because you know, we don't want all of them. We want to feed the stove. All right, now listen. Most of the time when you do this, you would add tomato paste. At this point, your vegetables, they're sauteing, you're gonna toss in some tomato paste, mix that all together. However, I think it's so delicious when you add a little bit of heat. And so I have this, whenever we use adobo peppers, you know, that you get in the can, but you never use a full can. Same thing with the tomato paste, where you get it, then you freeze portions. I'm adding adobo instead of the tomato paste because it just adds a little bit of heat that is so delicious. Okay, so let's add about a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half and just work that in. I'm also adding in some garlic. You can mince it if you want to, but honestly, because it's gonna be in the oven for so long, it kind of roasts the garlic in a way, and it makes it delicious, and you can kind of combine it all in afterward. So if you just wanna throw cloves in, you can do that. Okay, just mix that in, let it heat through. This smells incredible. All right, I think this looks good. My heat is on a medium high right now, and I'm gonna pour in about 2 cups or so of this red wine, and then just let it cook off for a minute before I add in the other stuff. A little bit more. As you do this, also just kind of scrape down the sides, or the bottom really. Okay, we've got a nice boil here. Let's add in some bone broth, about 1.5 cups. Let that continue to boil. And about 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. Oh, this is a new one. Okay, we've got a nice boil. Let's turn this off, and the, what do I have here? I've got some thyme and some rosemary. We're gonna drop that in. I'm also gonna put in a bay leaf or 2. Let's see if I can find good ones here. That one's good. Drop that in. The short ribs are gonna go in here bone side up. So just kind of nestle in as best as you can. Find the bone on each one. We'll put the lid on. All right, these are gonna go into the oven at 300 degrees for about 2.5 hours or so. We'll check it just to make sure it's working well, everything's good, it's not getting overdone, it's not underdone, nothing like that. But that's about the time that you're gonna be looking at. 300 degrees for about 2.5 to 3-ish hours. And then after that, you can make this beautiful sauce with what's left in the Dutch oven. So like I said, this one's a little bit of work. Totally worth it, trust me on this one. I'm gonna work on the next portion of this meal that is going to, we're actually gonna serve these short ribs over mashed potatoes. So I like to cut mine into cubes. You don't have to, you can honestly just throw them in there whole, but it just makes them cook a little bit faster. So that is why I'm doing that. Now, these short ribs would be delicious over polenta, risotto. You could do cauliflower rice if you're trying to make a less carby version. I just thought of another one that it would be really good with, and now I can't remember. There are other things. I'll leave it in the description box if I can think about it. So I am actually using red potatoes. Normally when I make potatoes, I do not peel them. I just cut them up and then we leave the peel on. I did decide to peel them tonight. We're gonna go for a very creamy mashed potato. And this is a recipe I have never made on here before. Stay tuned because it is rich and garlicky and creamy. I believe this was 3 pounds. Let's cover this with water and I'm gonna add some salt and then we'll get this over boiling on the stove. We're gonna make up a salad for dinner tonight, and this is one of those that looks like you spend so much time on it, but you don't. It requires almost no effort. I do like to start with a pinch of salt, literally just that. I do feel like it brings out all the different flavors and it brings out the different flavors, but it also contrasts the sweetness of some of the things in this salad, okay? So we need to add some oil. Let's do about a 1/4 cup. This is avocado oil, but you could use an olive oil if that's your preference. About 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 2 teaspoons of honey, and a little bit of pepper. Another thing that's really good in this is Dijon or whole grain mustard, just about a teaspoon or so. Totally up to you if you wanna add that or not, but it's great flavor. All right, just mix this together. Literally that simple. Such an easy dressing. All right, in this bowl here, I have about 2.5 to 3 ounces of arugula. If you don't like arugula, you could probably switch out for spinach. Arugula has a little bit more of a peppery kind of flavor. This container is not doing what it always has. It's kind of leaking, but use about half of the dressing on this, okay? That's good. I might need to get out another dressing container because we're making a mess. Mix that together, just making sure it gets that flavor all over the arugula. I might add a little bit more in here. It does wilt it down a little bit once you add in, you're like massaging the oil and stuff into the arugula. I am gonna add a little more. Now you can serve this in a bowl, but I actually think it's really beautiful served on a platter, so that's how we're gonna do it. Okay, so just take your platter, kind of spread your salad all out here. I love arugula. I actually wanted to save some back because one of my favorite things to make is an arugula, prosciutto, and what's the other thing I put on it? It's a flatbread that I make. Arugula, prosciutto, balsamic. Very, very, very good. So I saved some back so I can make that. Now take your favorite kind of apple, whatever kind you like, and we're just gonna cut, actually let me get the center out here. Cut into thin slices. These are Gala, I believe. And honestly, I think a green apple would be completely fine. But I do think that if you have an apple that has a little bit of red in it, because you have all the green here in the arugula, it does add another element of color. So, I mean, obviously go with preference on taste, but you're gonna get that little bit of color there if you go with an apple that has some red in it. Okay, now that we have all that cut, let's just kind of arrange these and just kind of tuck the apple in to different places, some on top, some underneath. Next up is goat cheese. And if you aren't getting your goat cheese at Sam's Club, you're missing out, because this huge log of goat cheese, 16 ounces, a full pound of goat cheese is like $8 at Sam's Club, which is crazy because if you have bought it in the grocery store ever, you know it's a lot more than that. Okay, so now this is the part where if you bought it in the grocery store and you bought it crumbled, then it's gonna be a little bit less work, but I will take the more work for the amount of money that you save buying a huge goat cheese log like so. So just crumble it up into pieces, spreading all over the top here. And I would say, I mean, you can use whatever a recipe calls for, but I would say just put some goat cheese on here as much as your little heart desires. If you don't like goat cheese, you could try a feta. Obviously, it's a different flavor, so it's gonna completely change the salad, but that is okay. That is the fun of recipes and kind of working with things, is sometimes you make an entire new recipe that is delicious and you just had no idea that that was gonna happen. So if this is 16 ounces, I'm probably gonna use 1.5. I mean, it's really not that much. It looks like a good amount, but that's just because it's crumbling and going all over the salad. I have some walnut pieces that we're just gonna put all over the top here, however much you want. Again, another thing that would be really pretty on here is the pomegranate seeds, or how do you say it? Or arrows, whatever those are. You could put those on here because it would add that element of red, which would be really beautiful. Now let's drizzle with a little bit more dressing. I might have made a little more dressing than we need, but that's okay. It'll actually kind of help the apples not brown as quickly with this dressing on them because of the acid in the, what's it called? Ooh, that was too much. The acid in the, what is it? I have no words today. Apple cider vinegar. It has been an hour and a half. I'm just gonna check it and make sure that the liquid is still good and that we don't need to add any more. Let's see here. Are we ready? Hour and a half. Oh man, look. I mean, the meat is already falling off the bones and we still have an hour. This is gonna be crazy good, y'all. Cannot wait. All right, so this might be a little different, but we're gonna finish up these mashed potatoes and we are making a warm kind of like cream sauce that's gonna get mixed in with them. So this is 1/2 cup of, I'm using light cream, but you can use heavy cream. That would be totally fine. And then this is about 2.5 tablespoons of butter, but you can go up to 4, just however much you're willing to do. Now we're gonna melt that together and then I'm gonna turn it on very low and just toss in this sprig of rosemary and add in 2 garlic cloves and just let those flavors infuse. So I'll have a little bit of a higher heat on, like a medium heat, just to get this melting. Let's add a touch of salt there and take this over to the stove. Okay, I did go ahead and drain the potatoes. Now I'm just gonna mash them while that butter is melting over in our cream. I do not have any heat on these right now, just kind of doing a little bit of a pre-mash here. And then we'll probably continue to mash a little bit more as we add in that cream when it's done. Okay, got some melting going on. That's what we want. Okay, I wanted to make sure it was cool enough, so we're gonna drop those in. I have my stove on a very low heat, as low as it will go. So let's just kind of push that down in there. It's possible I broke this. I actually walked away for a second when the butter was melting because I needed to answer an email, and I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how this turns out. I might need to try this step again, but it might be recoverable. So just let this infuse for about 10 minutes. I have, like I said, very low as the heat will go, just letting this kind of work in there, letting that rosemary flavor from the sprig infuse into that, and then the garlic as well. All right, this sauce has been working for about 10 minutes. I actually did give it a little taste just to make sure that you could really taste the rosemary. You can, it is delicious. So I'm gonna pull out the rosemary. You could chop it up nice and fine if you want to, but really the point here was an infusion, so that's what I went with. Put all of this into the potatoes. Let's get this all combined and then just turn it onto a low heat to keep it warm. Okay, combined, but I want to continue to mash. And obviously you can make them as mashed or as unmashed as you want, totally up to you. You can even use a potato ricer if you really want to get it nice and smooth. All right, let me try them and see how they are. Oh, you can taste that rosemary. That is good. Okay, touch of salt in there. And mix, and then just turn on a low heat just to keep them nice and warm until we are ready to eat, which is gonna be in just a few minutes here. All right, that's done. Let's check this meat. I almost forgot to use a pot holder. Look how good. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, so let me see how I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna pull out some of this to make a reduction, which honestly, I mean, I don't even know if we need to because it's reduced pretty good, but just for the fun of it. The bone just fell out of the meat. Oh my goodness, so good. Now you could create the reduction right there in the Dutch oven, but I want to keep the meat nice and warm and not have to put it into something else. So I'm actually just gonna, I thought it would be easier just to transfer to this pot that I had already used. And we'll turn this on and just let it simmer and reduce down. It's probably gonna take about 10 minutes or so. I have no problem doing that just to add a beautiful reduction to the top of this meal. It is gonna be so good. All right, full disclosure, I have already eaten dinner.
So you already ate. Yeah. I haven't.
He hasn't even tried it. Nothing.
We went on a date last night and had a delicious hanger steak.
Oh yeah.
Is this as good, better, or not quite as good as that hanger steak?
Just totally different.
Yeah, different.
Yeah.
Can't compare.
But I did talk about the sea bass earlier, and I talked about the beet and burrata thing.
Oh yeah.
That I am definitely going to try.
Everything was good last night.
It was amazing. But this dinner is also very, very good.
It looks good.
So you need to try it. Well, let me just explain. The reason that we're not eating dinner together tonight, because this almost never happens. Yeah. Our son had batting practice today, and there's a ladies' Bible study at our church tonight. So I actually need to leave our house in 6 minutes for that. So he just got home and I'm leaving. It's so rare, but yeah. So the bone actually already fell out of yours. So there shouldn't be a bone.
That's good.
Our dog has already indulged on several. Actually, there might be a bone right there. While he's tasting, I'll give you my thoughts.
So she had some of the bone?
She definitely, she's like, is there more? Are you done? Well, if that's any indication, our son just ate his meal in 3.5 minutes.
Super fast.
It's really good. The meat, as you can tell, just falls off the bone.
You got to pair something like that with mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I said you can definitely pair this with rice. You could pair it with polenta, or even risotto would be good. But there's just something about a good quality mashed potato. And I do need to say, if you taste the mashed potatoes on its own, although it was a little bit of extra effort to take that heavy cream and infuse it with the rosemary, it comes out in these mashed potatoes. It's so good because you get that rosemary flavor without having to actually put the herb in there. It's delicious.
Yeah,
if you've ever had like an herb infused butter or something, it's the same concept.
Yeah, so, which was on our steak last night.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But everything is really good. I do think the reduction that I did was worth the time and effort as well. Just taking some of the liquid out from the beef. What are you doing?
I'm ready to eat.
Sorry. I do think that the reduction was worth the time you know, making that because it made that beautiful gravy to go on the top.
Yeah.
The salad as well.
Oh,
I didn't even
so
talk
good.
about this.
You
so
didn't. I can't wait to dig into that.
it's really good, and I feel like it pairs really well with a meal like this because this is all heavy. Although it's very good, and you don't leave the table like, ugh, it's heavy food, right? You have beef, you have potatoes, all the gravy.
What's the greens on that?
Arugula.
I like that. Yeah, I like arugula.
Yeah, it's like a peppery kind of, and the dressing is very light and fragrant. So I really, really like that. And goat cheese, I'm just a huge fan of goat cheese anyway. So it was delicious, guys. Yeah. So good.
4 stars.
4?
Is it out of 4 or is it out of 5?
Out of 5.
5 stars.
Our verse today comes from Exodus 15:2. The Lord is my strength and my song, and he has become my salvation. This is my God, and I will praise him. My Father's God, I will exalt him. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want more inspiration in the kitchen, I highly suggest you check out this video right here. This has amazing recipes in it, and I feel like you're going to love it. It is going to inspire and encourage you this week. Have a great week.